Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Twin City Trio YouTube channel for the second installment of the podcast. My name is Gavin Campbell. Alongside me, as always, welcome back, guys, Tyson Synder, Cale Fleming.
How we doing, Gav?
What's
up? Today, we're going to go ahead and jump into the results of the NBA draft yesterday. The Phoenix Suns taking DeAndre Ayton first overall was definitely going to be one of the talking points that we're going to be stuck on for a few minutes. After that, we'll jump into some NHL action, who won awards, who should have won awards, disappointments, surprises, as well as a couple moves in the NHL that we really didn't see coming, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then we'll finally wrap it up with some MLB standings. Be talking Cubs, Cards, Brewers, Pirates, and a little bit of Cincinnati Reds, for what that's worth. Anyway, Kel, go ahead and take it away.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and grade everybody's picks. Starting off with DeAndre Ayton going to Phoenix, which we all called, by the way. Me and Tyson did, at least.
Yeah,
so,
I had Doncic going there, but that's only because I thought that he was the best player in the draft. But I still see this as a great pick.
I've got Ayton rated as an A+. I don't think he really could have gone wrong with that guy. Whoever got him, he was going top 3 no matter what.
Absolutely, and I would even say top 2 for DeAndre Ayton. I also gave him an A+. The Suns are getting a guy that is the strongest player in the draft, the most versatile player in the draft at the big man position, not to mention his skill set and what he's able to bring to that Phoenix squad. Pair him up with a pick and roll in Devin Booker. And the Suns also were able to draft Zaire Smith and trade him away to the 76ers at 10 for Mikal Bridges, which we both said was the most NBA-ready player.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, I don't think there's any question about that. 4-year collegiate athlete out of Villanova, coming off a championship title with Villanova, and we all thought that it was going to be a feel-good story, him being in Philly. There was a piece on NBA last night with his mother also working for the Sixers, I believe, in the Human Resources Department, and the whole family was going to get reunited. And then the Suns came out a few minutes later and said, we're trading Bridges to Phoenix. I think this is great for DeAndre Ayton. Like I said, the Suns are getting a tremendous talent, like we said, top 2 player in the draft.
They got somebody to help Devin Booker out in a little block now, too. A big presence down there, so that helps a lot.
Well, they got 2 somebodies to help him out. Both of those guys can just absolutely ball out.
Right.
Yeah, and Mikal Bridges is a guy, just because we're on the subject of Phoenix, that, like we said, was the most NBA ready. On top of that, he's got the wingspan to be a great wing defender. He's a great spot-up shooter. He's able to set the pick, come off the screen. These are just the kind of things that we look for in players, and NBA coaches and executives look for in players, because they want someone that can come in and contribute right away. Especially Phoenix, they want to be able to compete in the Western Conference and not be a bottom feeder for years going forward. So I think this is a great pickup.
Well, I think they made out like bandits in the draft. As far as the teams go, I think they're right up there at the top. They automatically got 2 players that can make an immediate impact on their team with Ayton and Bridges. Both of those guys are going to come in, NBA-ready guys. They finally got a couple guys to pair up with Booker. I would love to see him run that in and out. Booker taking the ball up. You got Ayton down on the low post, running it in and out. You got Bridges swinging around. That dude can hit shots from all over. So
right, and Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton are 2 other guys that Elfrid Payton is able to facilitate to now. We forget that he's on Phoenix because he was acquired at the trade deadline last year, or just a few months ago in February. And Payton is a guy that is, he was always great in Orlando, but at the same time, we know that he can't shoot, and that's always been a flaw in his game. But having said that, I think that he is a guy who, for any team, and now that he's on Phoenix, can be that floor general or facilitator. And with a guy like Mikal Bridges and a guy like DeAndre Ayton, those guys can score the basketball. We saw it all year long at the college level, and I think, like you said, it's going to translate seamlessly into the NBA. They already have a Kobe Bryant-esque player in Devin Booker. The guy had 70 points in the game against the Celtics, so that's just a flash in the pan of what he's capable of. And I think with this team, I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe a 14-15 win increase next year. And I know that this sounds like a lot, but we have to remember this team only won 21 games.
right.
So if you see them win 36, 37 games next season, I wouldn't be surprised at all. This is a very talented group. Not to mention they got guys like Dragon Bender now, who's we hope will improve. They can be a stretch for them. They have Tyler Ulis at the backup point guard position. And if Brandon Knight ever decides to show back up in the NBA, they do have him.
I could see them making a sneaky run up at the 8-9 spot in the seeding this year, maybe getting a chance at a run at the playoffs.
Depending on how well this team is able to gel and how quickly they're able to gel in the beginning of the season, how long it takes them, to kind of figure it out. I could definitely see that happening, but again, this is the Western Conference, and we see with the LA Clippers, if you can finish 9th, win 42 games, and that still doesn't get you in. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it's going to be loaded, and we're going to have to see what the Suns are able to do.
So let's move on a little bit. Let's go to the second pick. Let's go to Marvin Bagley out of Duke, 6'11", 235. Going to the Kings. How do you guys feel about that?
I had that rated another A-plus pick. I think the Kings made out like a bandit. Personally, I liked him better than Doncic. I think he's the best offensive weapon in the draft this year. Dude scores with ease. Now, a lot of that came just backing down smaller dudes, using his physical size and superior talent in the college game to just beat up on some of those guys. So we'll have to see if that translates to the NBA, which I'm pretty confident, but the Kings needed scoring, and that's what he provides for them. He is a little bit of a defensive liability, but at this point, I don't really think they care. They just need some buckets. They need somebody that can score. But he's a guy you can build around, but I don't think he's a solid anchor to play your center position. He's not going to help you out a whole lot defensively.
Well, for me, I'm going to go ahead and give this an A. Not an A+, just for the sole fact that Bagley, as talented as he is, as athletic as he is, I still see him as a raw talent on the defensive side of things. I don't know if he'll be able to translate entirely into the NBA right away. The concerns I have for him on the defensive end, he doesn't like to play defense, although he is a great rim protector. He's a great rebounder. But when it comes to one-on-one defense or that help defense, sometimes it can be a little shaky. We saw that at Duke. We also saw it in the tournament. Not that he got exposed, because on the offensive end, he is a tremendous talent, like you said. But having said that, on the defensive side of things, he's going to have to step up, especially playing in the Western Conference. But having said that, I will say that, like you said, this is a great pick for Sacramento. You did call it back on Monday. This team finishing 27-55 in the West, are really taking advantage of the second overall pick, and that's why the NBA has the lottery system for teams like this to go ahead and get lucky. And that's one thing that did surprise me, though, is that Sacramento didn't screw this up after all the previous picks that they've had after
really good at.
After DeMarcus Cousins. Willie Cauley-Stein. Not that Willie Cauley-Stein is a bad player, but when you have DeMarcus Cousins, you didn't need another center. Mm-hmm. Scalabissiere, a power forward / center that was a best talent available situation. I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, you have to get complementary pieces that are going to help your team win games in the future. That's why I believe that this pick was the right move. They finally didn't screw this up, and I couldn't be happier for Kings fans. This is going to be a great pair-up with De'Aaron Fox. I think Bagley and Cauley-Stein are going to be a great 1-2 punch down on the low block, and hopefully Bagley's able to develop some sort of outside game. We know that he can shoot a little bit, and if he can just keep developing that jump shot, I think the Kings are in good shape going forward.
He shot almost 40%, or I think it was 40% from the three, but like you said, a very small sample size.
Absolutely. He has the necessary tools to do it. Right. It's just I want to see more of it.
Needs to develop it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Moving on, let's go down the line. Let's go to third. Let's go to Luka going to Atlanta, but he actually got traded to the Mavs. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, I had Luka Doncic as the best player in this draft. And the reason I had him as the best player in the draft is because I see him as the most versatile and the one with the most potential next to DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton playing the center position, I don't believe is as versatile. Yes, he might be able to play the 5, but I see him as a true 5 for his entire career. Doncic is a guy that can play positions 1 through 3 and be great at any one of those 3 positions on the floor. I believe he shines most when he's playing point forward. But like I said, he's able to play shooting guard. He's able to play the point guard. Whatever you need him to do, he can do for you. Not to mention that he plays better defense, I believe, than Marvin Bagley does. Playing against grown men in the Euro League and the Spanish League. He was a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, and regular season. This guy, for the Mavericks, I would have graded an A+ if he went to Atlanta. I really wanted to see him alongside Dennis Schroeder. The fact that they ended up trading this pick to Dallas brought it down to an A- for me, only because I love this kid so much, and the potential, like I said, is there. Him playing with Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be interesting. I wonder how either Dennis Smith or himself, Doncic, will play off the ball or away from the ball. And we'll have to see what Mark Cuban has cooking up here, because To me, this is a little bit of a head-scratcher, but like I said, when it's the best player in the draft, you go for it.
Not only did Luka play well over there in the Euro, he tore everybody apart in the Euro leagues, which, as we stated on Monday, the Euro leagues is just a step below the NBA.
Absolutely.
And winning all of those awards that he did and titles and everything else over there is just a big bonus. But I'm really, like you said on Monday, Gav, I'm really surprised that Phoenix didn't take him, just for the fact that Phoenix hired his old coach in the Euro League. So I don't know what that has to do with anything other than the Devin Booker situation, because they got that 1 and 2 kind of locked down. So that's just my take on it. I mean, that's a good pick, though, for Dallas, because they're going to need some help in the point guard position or the shooting guard position. So good pick overall for them, or good trade, I should say.
Well, I do think it's a good pick. I think you're right. But at the same time, the player himself, I've got him graded A+ player. He's a phenomenal player. But for the Mavericks, I've got it at like a B- for. They've got an aging Dirk Nowitzki. Their 5 isn't all that. I really feel like they should have gone with a big, someone that can learn from Dirk in his last year or two. So the pick itself, I really like the player, but I would have liked to see him go another route. But once again, I got nothing against Doncic. He's phenomenal. He'll definitely help out their front court. But I really would have liked to see him go with a big, so I got to rate the pick a little bit lower than what it should be.
Right, and that's understandable because I believe we both had Mo Bamba going to Dallas, which, I mean, if Mo Bamba was a guy that, like you said, could learn from Dirk Nowitzki, one of the greatest of all time, you're in good shape. Not to mention that he's got one of the longest wingspans the league has seen since, like, Manute Bol. Mm-hmm. So he had that going for him on top of being one of the best defensive players in college basketball throughout the entire season. He did okay in the NCAA tournament, but that was expected. He didn't have a lot of help coming out of Texas. Right. Other than that, though, I mean, yeah, I see why you would grade the pick lower, but at the same time, Luka Doncic, to me, best player in the draft. I really think you can't go wrong with it. If you can go ahead and get a guy, maybe throw some money at DeAndre Jordan, throw some money at Clint Capella in the offseason. We still have free agency to come, so we'll have to see what the Mavs are able to do, because Nerlens Noel is not coming back, and you don't have anyone else to fill that role.
Right, that's right. There always is free agency that could definitely throw a spin in things. Like I said, I would have liked to see him go with a big, but you're absolutely not wrong. He definitely does help out that 1 through 3 position. He can play all of them. He helps the team regardless. And I'd like to see what happens here upcoming in free agency.
So moving on, let's go to the number 4 pick for Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr. out of Michigan State, Big Ten school. What do you guys think about that?
Great. It's an A for me. They can finally get rid of that awful Chandler Parsons contract. He's a phenomenal defender. He can guard every position 1 through 5. It doesn't matter. You put him on anybody, he's going to guard him. Dude had 5.5 blocks per game. That's a lot of blocks, man. Yeah. Welcome to my block party, he says.
For a guy that's undersized, really, for playing the 4 and 5 position, I believe he's 6. Is he 6'9"?
6'11".
Oh, 6'11".
So he's probably about 6'9". Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, they measured everybody in their shoes.
Yeah, a couple inches. Yeah.
And I mean, he's a decent shooter. He can shoot it from just about anywhere. So he helps you out on the offensive side, and he's just a defensive stud.
Oh, absolutely. If you were going to draft this guy, it was going to be for his defense. The Grizzlies get an A+ pick from me just because this is a high-energy guy. I hate to compare him to Draymond Green because I do not like Draymond Green whatsoever, but there's no denying his motor and his will to play the game of basketball, which I believe Jaren Jackson Jr. has. Him going to Memphis, that just builds on the grit and grind mentality of the Memphis Grizzlies and what they've been trying to secure themselves as for the past 5 to 6 seasons with Conley, Gasol. They tried to bring in Chandler Parsons, and injuries have derailed his career ever since going to Dallas, which has really been disappointing because he had some great years in Houston. But like you said, now that they're able to move that contract, they bring in a guy like Jaren Jackson to play that 3 spot. This opens the door because Tyreke Evans is gone after his phenomenal season in Memphis. And this is a team that really could grow into a big 3. We know that Gasol and history. Now bringing in this guy could maybe take a little load off of what they need to do and share the ball. Because like you said, he's a very versatile player. He can shoot the ball from anywhere on the court. The one concern that I have, if I was to critique this kid, is that I haven't seen him shoot enough 3-pointers. He did shoot them at a very high percentage, but at a very low clip. And if he's going to be successful in the NBA, sample size is everything coming out of college. We'll have to see what he's able to do in the upcoming summer league.
Absolutely. That's the one thing. Small sample size again. He doesn't quite have the stroke that Parsons does, but he still can shoot it. So I'm excited for that pick. I think the Grizzlies got away with a good one there.
Absolutely. I thought Jaren Jackson might have gone 3 to Atlanta, but the top 3 picks definitely surprised me a little bit, other than DeAndre Ayton. Marvin Bagley to the Kings, Luka Doncic to the Mavericks, trading with the Hawks, and then Jaren Jackson finally going to the Grizz. Either way, this was a great pick for them, and like you said, I'm anxious to see what he's going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5, Trae Young to Dallas, but he got traded to Atlanta. 6'2", 180, coming out of Oklahoma. Proven scorer. People saying he's the next Steph Curry. What do you guys think about that?
I can't stand this pick.
Oh.
I can't stand this pick.
Brutal.
I can't stand this pick whatsoever.
I didn't really like him getting Doncic to play 1 through 3, and now they got a smaller guy that can play 1 or 2. He's a great scorer, but once again, I still think the Mavs needed a big guy. And even though they traded him to the Hawks need just about everything, and I don't think that was it.
No, because they already have their point guard, and
Right.
unless you're willing to trade Dennis Schroeder, which is on a good contract, but the Hawks went with Dennis Schroeder when they started gutting their roster, and they said, we want you to take over this franchise. Now, unless Dennis Schroeder is okay with the rebuilding process, they have guys like Taurean Prince, they have John Collins, they have Kent Bazemore. They have pieces, and now that you bring in another point guard to compete, that's either going to help or hinder your franchise. So we'll have to see what they're going to do moving forward. Trae Young is just a guy that I have not really cared for the second half of the season. The first half he was on fire, and no one could stop him. I mean, he was averaging over 30 points a game. It was a phenomenal thing to watch, but like I said, the second half of the season where he cooled off, the disappointment in the NCAA tournament, the fact that his size, and I hate to bring it down to a guy's size, but when you can't defend and you are a smaller guy, we see guys like Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry get lost on the defensive end of things. The Hawks are already a bad defensive team. Right. So bringing in a guy like that is not going to help you on that side of the basketball. So I give it a solid C-. Okay, Trae Young can score, but the defensive inefficiency is what really I think is going to come down to and hinder this basketball team moving forward. They did draft Herter from Maryland, I think, later in the draft as a sharpshooter. I thought that was a great pickup. And then also Spellman at the 30th pick in the first round, last pick of the first round, from Villanova, championship caliber player coming off Villanova's title game. I think he's a little undersized for his position, but at the same time, he's got heart. And this is another guy I think you can pair up with John Collins in the back. Not the backcourt, the front court. And I don't like this pick. I don't like this pick by Atlanta. I thought that he might have fallen to maybe Orlando, maybe New York, go somewhere where they need scoring. Right. I think Atlanta can get their scoring from other pieces on their team, but I'm not a fan of this pick.
Well, I had the pick rated at a C+. I like Trae Young, and I just don't think he's a good fit there. The only reason I didn't have it lower is because Atlanta really could use a 2 and get rid of Tyler Dorsey, so I guess they could keep Dennis Schroeder at the 1 and put Trae Young at the 2 and just have him shoot. That's the only reason I didn't grade it lower, but definitely a solid C somewhere in there. But they could have done a lot better. They would have done way better sticking with Doncic.
Absolutely.
Pick number 6 out of Orlando, Mohamed Bamba, 7 foot, 225, coming out of Texas. What do you guys think?
Great. Bamba's a great pick.
Bamba is an incredible talent, but going to Orlando where they have center after center after center on the roster is just a disappointment to me. I understand that it's a best player case scenario, but having said that, you need to draft your team needs at that point. You could have traded the sixth pick away if you had another player in mind, get a couple more assets. This is a team that's been rebuilding for the past how many years, ever since Dwight Howard left.
Right.
So I just don't see it. I don't see why they would do this unless they have a way to move Vucevic, unless they have a way to move that Biyombo contract. This is probably the biggest head scratcher in the lottery to me.
This was another one. I had the player rated at an A, and I had the pick rated at like a D+. It just didn't really make any sense. Like you were saying, they've got way too many big guys now. I think he's a great big guy, but now they've just got too much money allocated and all the different. Head scratcher, like you said, it just didn't make any sense.
Not to mention they still have Jonathan Isaac, who plays 4 and 5. That's another guy on the roster, and Aaron Gordon, who plays the 3 and 4. This team's just loaded with big guys. When they need someone to help out Jonathan Simmons and Evan Fournier in the backcourt, and they didn't address that need. Like I said, this was just something that, like I said, in free agency, they're either going to have to let people go, trade them off, or it's going to come down to the coach just saying, look, we're starting our guy, we're starting him fresh, we're going to go ahead and bench some people, and that could stir up some controversy down there in Florida, and I just don't see where this team is headed in the future. Like, where's their direction?
Well, I think he'll pair up great with Gordon, but like you're saying, they really need positions 1 through 3, point guard through small forward. Their point guard averaged points, assists, rebounds 10, 4, and 2. Shooting guard averaged 18, 3, and 3, and their small forward averaged 14, 2, and 3. So none of them are getting rebounds or assists. They're not putting up great scoring numbers. They really need guards and small forwards. Big guy was definitely not the way to go for them.
Coming in, number 7, Wendell Carter Jr. For the Bulls, I like this pick because now we can let Lopez out. He can go.
Yep.
We got a young stud and their young talent coming out of Duke right there with Bagley. That's a good pick. I'm giving that an A for myself. You know, I don't follow the NBA as intently as you guys do, but that's just a solid pick to me. What do you guys got?
I love seeing that pick there. Wendell Carter Jr., when we were talking on Monday, I said I think he's one of the biggest studs in the draft. Puts up consistent numbers all the way across the board, points, rebounds, assists, blocks. The dude just does it all. He's got great size to go with it. He's a great defender. Now, he does have a little tendency to kind of lay back and kind of blend in with the crowd at times. That's why he doesn't put up great scoring numbers. He still averaged a double-double. But he could score more, but he gets a little soft at times and kind of lays back a little bit.
Yeah, I really like that pick at 7 for Chicago. Wendell Carter Jr. out of Duke, like you said, is an all-around talent. He is an athlete, you know, despite his look and what people may say. If you watched him at Duke, you know what he's capable of. I mean, he could dunk on just about anybody at the college level. Translating into the NBA, like you said, the Bulls can now go ahead and let Lopez go. Not that he was a bad player. He's
not by any means.
He's a great veteran. He did a solid job for that team. But now that they started the rebuilding process last year with Laurie, and pretty much
he did what he needed for the time being, and now that time's over.
Exactly, and now that it is, and they're moving on, they can go ahead and let him go. Wendell Carter Jr. can step in alongside Lauri Markkanen. That's going to be a great 1-2 punch just because they can both stretch the floor. On top of that, I think Wendell Carter is a solid anchor on the defensive end. Definitely a lot more than Bagley was at Duke, because Bagley, like I said, great rebounder, not a great defender. When it comes to Wendell Carter, this is a guy that can stay in the paint, be that rim protector, let Lowry kind of, step out at times. He doesn't have to focus on being in the paint as much, and really just conserve his energy for the offensive end because we know how talented he is on that side of the ball. I think he's going to be great pick and roll with Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's a heck of an athlete himself, so on the offensive side of things, I think the Bulls are looking up, especially in the Eastern Conference. This was a heck of a pick. Not to mention at number 22, they ended up taking Chandler Hutchinson to address their need at small forward out of Boise State. I gave that an A. I'm giving Wendell Carter an A. These are two guys that can come in immediately, help out the team, and the Bulls are going to have a great starting 5 next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave Wendell Carter an A, and I gave that Chandler Hutchinson pick a B+. I didn't know a whole lot about him, watched a little bit of highlights and whatnot, but he really does address that need, a little bit of scoring ability.
All right, coming in, Cleveland with the number 8 pick, Colin Sexton out of Alabama, 6'2", 190. What do you guys feel?
You're big on him, Gavin. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is the guy that I kept talking up on Monday. He was probably my favorite player in the draft, other than Luka Doncic. This kid is just an absolute spark plug. I mean, he will give you 127% every single game. Every single time he steps on that floor, he will if you tell him to do something, he'll get it done. He's not afraid of the big moment. He's not afraid to take the big shot. I think he's a born leader. Sexton is, and not that I'm disappointed that he went to Cleveland, because I think with LeBron James ultimately leaving, I think at this point, because this is a pick that I think we both agree could have been spent on someone like Mikal Bridges, who's in Phoenix now, who went at the 10 spot, so he was still on the board, and like we said, he was the most NBA ready, could have come in and helped LeBron immediately. We know LeBron doesn't like to play with kids, young kids, 19, 20 years old. This is a guy that's going to be 23 later this year, and he could have came in and been somewhat of a veteran rookie, if you will.
Right.
Play alongside LeBron and help him out, because that's what they need, is more depth in Cleveland. Because we know it was just kind of like LeBron James, second tier Kevin Love, and then third tier everybody else.
They need a guard, though. They need a good, solid guard.
They did, and I think that they addressed that situation, but the fact that Sexton's only 19 years old, I think pretty much solidifies LeBron's leaving.
Right.
So
This was another one for me, another kind of head scratcher. They really did need a guard. They needed a replacement since Kyrie left.
Yes.
And I really think he fills that position. But I think you got to count on LeBron leaving at this point. They really needed someone to either play alongside him and learn for the last year he's on contract, or count on him bailing out on the last year of that contract and get someone to replace him. So the player himself, Sexton's great, gets an A-. But the pick, they needed that position, but the Cavs got more holes than they let on for going to a championship 4 years straight.
No, they absolutely did. But my thing is this is a guy, I gave the pick an overall a B+. Just because of the motor this guy has, the fact that he's willing to learn. He shoots 78% from the free throw line. He doesn't shoot threes very well, but that tells you that his shooting mechanics are on point. And this is a guy that can develop a nice jump shot, mid-range, three-pointer, really anything you want. And the fact that he's a ball handler and not afraid of the moment, I think is a Kyrie-esque player. Not saying that, obviously, he's not Kyrie Irving.
Right.
He's not a top 3 talent like Kyrie was.
He's probably never going to be that close either.
No, but this is a great starting point for Cleveland now that they've drafted a guy that can be their franchise point guard moving forward, because they're going to have him under contract for the next 5 years. If they end up keeping Kevin Love, I think that's a nice pick and roll, a nice pick and pop that they can go ahead and work on. And overall, I think this is a solid pick for Cleveland. I just wish that he would have fallen one more pick to New York, which we'll get into that here in a second. But I felt like him in New York with Porzingis would have been a lot better than him in Cleveland with Kevin Love.
Agreed. You bring up free throw percentage, though, and if LeBron does stay, I see it clash. Sexton, he does have that. He has a good free throw percentage because he shoots a lot of them. His style is drive to the rim and try and finish, which is very similar to LeBron. So if LeBron stays, they both like to get to the rim. That puts a lot of bodies down on the low post towards the rim. Not anyone for LeBron to kick it out to like he likes.
Right, which I think furthers the narrative that he is probably leaving now, because they have their guy. They have their guy with the mentality of, like, I can put this team on my back. But we saw him make a pitch last night. LeBron, stay in Cleveland. Let me help you guys get back to the finals. So I don't know how much influence a 19-year-old kid is going to have on the King, but we know that he wants him to stay. We know that Sexton wants him to stay.
Number 9, New York Knicks, Kevin Knox out of Kentucky, 6'9", 213. Tyson, what do you got?
Boy, I would like to see Sexton fall to the Knicks, like you were just saying. I really didn't have Knox as this high of a talent. In like I had him at like 17, 18 maybe. Yeah. Not that he's a bad player, but number 9, and I mean he's a good pair up with Kristaps, and big 1-2 punch, big guys. But there's just so many better players left in the draft. Cale Bridges.
I think that's what it comes back to. Not to interrupt you, but you have a guy that plays a small forward position in Kevin Knox going before a veteran and a guy that's proven himself on both sides of the basketball in Cale Bridges that's still on the board that New York passed on. This is classic Knicks.
Yep.
So I don't really have too much else to say about it. I mean, if anyone watched the draft last night, then you know that the looks on the ends of Knicks fans out there in the crowd pretty much says it all. It was like, really?
Do you think it was the same reaction that Knicks fans had when they drafted Kristaps?
Absolutely not. No, Kristaps got probably
that was terrible.
The most heat I've seen watching a live draft, and I've been watching since I think 2012. So that was probably one of the, because the Knicks had the number 4 pick.
Yeah.
And the fact that they used it on a European guy that was unproven, but he was 7'3".
Yeah.
Yep.
7'3". This is a guy out of Kentucky that's, I think, just your run-of-the-mill small forward. I don't see him being an all-star. He could be a great role player, maybe a good 4th or 5th man on a team, but I just don't see it.
I think he's like the 5th or 6th best small forward in this draft, and they drafted him like he was the 2nd or 3rd.
Exactly.
He should have gone behind Cale Bridges. He should have gone behind Miles Bridges. He should have gone behind Michael Porter Jr. There's so many guys that were left that just got absolutely snubbed in this spot.
In New York, if I'm going to take a guy, I thought this was a great spot for Michael Porter Jr. to go. If he was going to drop this far in the draft, we thought he might go top 7. We thought the Bulls were interested in him. Then they end up taking Wendell Carter.
I'm glad the Bulls picked up Wendell Carter instead of Michael Porter, basically because of that back issue he's had at 19.
Oh, you 19 have, or 20. Yeah, you have to worry about that.
That's an issue.
That's definitely a factor, but I still didn't see him dropping to 14 like he did.
No,
I
absolutely
still feel
not.
like he shouldn't have even declared for the draft. Honestly.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I believe this is something that we talked about off air, was that had he stayed at Mizzou one more year, he could have been a top 2 or 3 pick next season.
Yeah.
So It doesn't make any sense. I mean, next year you do have guys like Zion Williamson that you have to compete with, True. Which you have another guy in Bull that's going to be going to Oregon.
Yep.
So, I mean, I understand why you want to get in. You want to make your money, but at the same time, there's a huge difference between, like, the first and second pick and the 14th pick. So you're definitely not making as much money. But the fact that he went to Denver, and I hate to skip over these three guys, but now that we're on the subject, him going at 14, I think that's the perfect situation with Will Barton leaving the team now. Wilson Chandler getting up there in age and not being himself in the past 3 or 4 years. I mean, if he can pair up with Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, as long as Jokic continues to improve like he has been, it's going to be scary in Denver, and I could definitely see them making the playoffs next year as long as he stays healthy.
Right.
So let's get back up to number 10. We went down to 14, but that's okay. We got Mikal Bridges with the Sixers, but the Sixers traded him to the Phoenix. What do you guys feel about that?
Probably
great for Phoenix.
It's great for Phoenix. For Philly, it's not. I mean, I know Philly got back, who was it, Zaire Smith from, where was he from?
Louisville.
No, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, that's what it was.
That's right.
Texas Tech.
So with him coming to the Sixers, I really don't know how he helps that team. I mean, unless he's going to be coming off the bench and he can contribute that way, that's great. More power to you. But this is a guy that I really didn't hear about the entire year. I mean, not that I'm watching Texas Tech basketball, but getting back to Mikal Bridges, I mean, like, we've been talking him up all day. We've been talking him up on Monday. Before the draft, like we said, he's probably next to Jaren Jackson Jr., the most complete and well-rounded player in this draft.
NBA ready.
Exactly.
Knox.
Yeah, exactly. He can come in and contribute right away on both ends of the floor. I've probably said it 4 or 5 times now. This guy, there's no way he should drop all the way to 10. He was a top 5 talent.
10 and they get traded to the 16.
Absolutely. Should have been taken well before he was. I think this is a match made in heaven. I gave it an A+.
But Zaire Smith coming to Philly, I gave it a solid C-. Like you said, I really don't see how he helps this team. They've already got Simmons running their point.
And they got Fultz too.
Yeah, and they got Fultz
coming back. Yeah,
when he comes back, and JJ
Redick should come back. Yeah.
Hopefully.
They've got so many guys at that 1 and 2 spot that he really just doesn't fit. Now he does have a big upside, but he's a very unrefined player. He really doesn't have a style yet. He's just kind of there. He's energetic, but unrefined. Big upside, but he just doesn't fit with that team.
He's very talented. I got to give him that. But like you said, the fact that he hasn't picked what he wants to do and what style he wants to fit into, this could either be very good or very bad for the Sixers. This is why I gave it a solid B-. I see that he's talented, but at the same time, when he comes in and he doesn't know a system, it could be easier to teach him your system, or it could be difficult because he's never been in a system. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say, and no discredit to the Texas Tech staff, coaching, whatever he's been through, but the fact that he's this talented and that he doesn't fully understand what he wants to do, what he's comfortable with, is kind of an issue when you're playing in the best basketball league in the world.
Yeah.
So that's why I gave it a solid B-. Potential's there. Whether or not he can maximize that, Philly can maximize that, we'll have to see.
Moving on, Charlotte with the 11th pick, who actually got traded to the Clippers. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming out of Kentucky, 6'6", 180. Now, this point guard, I think he's coming out of Canada too. I think he's originally from Canada. I watched him a little bit in a March tournament, but he's pretty decent. He's pretty solid.
Oh yeah,
he's got some stuff that he could offer LA, which I don't really follow LA that much, but I feel like he could help him. 6'6", 180 is pretty decent for a point guard.
Absolutely, I think he's a guy that can come in and be a solid NBA player. Mm-hmm. You pair him up with Lou Williams. Sweet Lou is a great scorer. Oh, yeah. Alexander is a pretty good distributor of the basketball from the one position, but he can also play the two because we know he can shoot.
He likes to drive too.
Absolutely,
he's pretty fun to watch drive.
He's got great ball handling.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was going to say his handling can get guys like Lou, Tobias Harris. If DeAndre Jordan decides to re-sign, he can get him open, toss him a lob. He's going to be a problem for other teams in the Western Conference.
Fast too. Fast.
He reminds me of Doncic almost. Another guy with size that can still dribble the ball and still play that 1 through almost 3 position. Good size, good ball handling, good speed, explosion. I think he's a great pick.
Absolutely. When the Hornets made this decision, I thought that Kemba Walker was going to get traded in the offseason. I said, well, they're finally letting him go because Kemba's been an outstanding player. He's been an all-star, and the Hornets really haven't gone anywhere. They made the playoffs one time, got knocked out in the first round by the Miami Heat. So the fact that they took this guy, and I was like, wow, he's gone. This is who MJ is picking up, and they're going to go with moving forward. And now that he's on the Clippers, playing under a head coach like Doc Rivers, a player coach, a guy that seems to be a great teammate in the locker room from when you've seen him in interviews. I really like this pick. I'm going to give it an A just because I really like the player and the situation seems pretty good to me.
I gave it an A too. I think he fits really well with the Clippers. It's a position they need help with, and I think he fills a role very well for them.
Absolutely. Ever since losing Chris Paul, Patrick Beverley has had injury issues, and I think this is a great replacement.
Yep.
Number 12, the LA Clippers had it. They drafted Bridges, but they traded him to the Hornets. Miles Bridges, 6'7", 225 out of Michigan State. Another solid shooting forward. What do you guys think?
I think Bridges would have been good on either team. I think he helps the Clippers, but even more, I think he helps the Hornets. So
absolutely.
I really like the trade from 11 to 12 there. I think both teams made out like bandits. I was really high on Miles Bridges. I liked watching him at Michigan State. I think he's another guy with all the right skill sets. Performs very well. He was rated as one of the top 2 or 3 players almost the whole year last year. Phenomenal player.
Absolutely. I really like this pick for Charlotte, not only because they got a player that can come in and contribute right away, but a guy with a high motor, and the fact that they traded for 2 second-round picks along with this kid from the LA Clippers. So like you said, he would have fit in great in LA because they've been trying to find a small forward for a long time, but I think they're going to go ahead and hand the reins over to Tobias Harris. And the fact that he's in Charlotte now, MJ's got his man to pair up with Kemba Walker.
Yep.
You can finally sit down MKG and his terrible-looking jump shot. And that's no disrespect to him. He's a great defender, but kid has never been able to figure it out, okay? And the fact that he's turning into an NBA vet and you still can't shoot the ball, it kind of reminds me of Joakim Noah at the 3 position. So with that said, I think this is going to be a great 1-2 punch, him and Kemba. Now I think that the Hornets need to address their center situation. They've traded away Dwight Howard to the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn is probably going to let him go, and there's talk of him maybe signing with the Golden State Warriors. That's going to be a different topic for a different day, but definitely interesting. No, I think this is a solid – I'm going to go ahead and give it an A- pick because I don't know how well he's going to come in and fit in with the Hornets right away, but definitely an A-caliber player.
Oh, I give it an A-. I'm right there with you.
Number 13, coming out of L.A. again, Jerome Robinson, Boston College, 6'5", 190, point guard. I've never heard much about him. Gav, what do you got?
I didn't really know much about him either. I didn't follow Boston College really at all throughout this year.
I didn't either.
But like Tyson said, I ended up watching highlights of this guy. He's a scoring machine. I don't know how he went this under the radar to me this entire season. But I'm going to go ahead and give this pick a solid A- for the Clippers.
He went under the radar because he's from Boston College.
Right.
So that's just the real truth.
Well, and that's what gets me as a guy this talented, not getting into one of these, top 30, top 40 schools. And that's no disrespect to Boston College, but basketball-wise, athletics-wise.
Right.
You don't see studs like this coming out of Boston College.
Unless it's hockey.
He is, but he's definitely an A-caliber talent. I don't know much about him, so I went ahead and gave it an A-. But this guy's a scoring machine, averaged 22 points a game at the college level. I think this is a guy that can come in at the 2 position for the Clippers. You pair him up with Gilgeous-Alexander, Tobias Harris, and then you have guys like Montrezl Harrell. And then if you can get DeAndre Jordan to re-sign, you're looking at a solid lineup in the West, along with Lou Williams coming in either off the bench or he might start. We're not sure yet.
You had him rated a lot higher than I did. I gave this pick a C-. 1, I didn't know a whole lot about him, and 2, when I did do a little bit of research on him, he's a great scorer, but that's about all he's got. He gets anxious with the ball, not turnover heavy, but he doesn't make all the right decisions all the time. And my main reason for giving it a low grade, I gave it a C-. I still feel like there was just better guys available.
Oh, absolutely. One thing for me is, yes, there was better guys available, but I think they're looking for a guy who can come in and shoot the basketball, wants to shoot the basketball. If he can be your 4th option on offense, I think you're in good shape. Because you have Lou Williams that's going to want to score the basketball. That's what he's done in his entire career. Then you have Tobias Harris, who's also a good scorer. He's very versatile in the way that he's able to put the ball in the hole. And then if you have Jerome Robinson as your 3rd option, other than DeAndre Jordan, if you're able to re-sign him, even Gilgeous-Alexander and his cutting ability, you have a guy that can spot up on the wing, and if he's open, there's a green light to pull the trigger. That's why I like this pick. I think that they were going for more of a fit rather than overall talent, and that's why I went ahead and gave this an A-.
So, number 14, we've already talked about it, Michael Porter.
Yeah.
We've already talked about him.
Great talent. Question marks on the back. We'll have to see what the Nuggets are able to do with him and if he can stay healthy.
Right.
I give the pick an A just because he did fall this low. He was easily a top 3 talent in the draft if we could have seen him play.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely an
so
A+.
So I give it an A just for the value pick.
Exactly. For where he was drafted, this is definitely an A+. But for me, B+ because you did still waste a lottery pick on a guy that has a huge question mark.
Yep.
So let's get into some sleepers now that kind of went a little lower than you thought. I'm going to talk about one real quick. Going to my team, number 23, Gav's guy, Aaron Holiday.
My favorite sleeper in the draft.
What do you think about that?
Man, I called it on Monday. Whoever got this guy was looking at a future All-Star. Okay, and I'm no hesitation in me saying that whatsoever. This is the brother of Drew Holiday. Plays for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's been an All-Star before, made it to the second round of the playoffs with Anthony Davis. Took a game from Golden State in the second round. That's not an easy thing to do.
No.
On top of that, his other brother, Justin Holiday, plays for the Chicago Bulls. He's a young guy. He's played really well for them in the rebuilding process. I think he's going to be a great piece for them moving forward. And now that he's finally going to the Indiana Pacers, pair him up with a guy like Victor Oladipo. Breakout season this year, All-Star in the East. And the fact that Aaron is playing in the Eastern Conference and in a division that has, the Cavaliers without LeBron James, the rebuilding Chicago Bulls, this is, I think, a division and a conference to where he can come in and thrive. I think Darren Collison's going to get some reduced minutes. He's getting up there in age, getting close to 30. He's always been a so-so point guard. He was okay in Sacramento. He's been pretty decent for the Pacers up to this point, but I think that you can go ahead and split the minutes now with Aaron Holiday and Corey Joseph off the bench. This is going to be a great 1-2 punch with Miles Turner and Thad Young. Setting screens. If Big Al comes back, he's a brick wall.
Yeah.
So, I really, really like this pick. I think if they were going to address a position, it had to be small forward. But the fact that they had this late of a pick in the draft and the fact that he fell to 23 in the draft, I thought this was a top 15 player. To me, he's a top 10 player in the draft. And the fact that he dropped this low, I mean, it really blows my mind. And there was Chauncey Billups last night that was covering the draft. He couldn't believe that he fell out of the top 15. This is a guy that shot 43% from three-point. He's over
with a large sample size.
Yeah.
Very large sample size. This guy scored over 20 points a game, had over over 5 assists, just over 5 assists a game. I mean, this is a guy that can contribute immediately. And UCLA is in a conference to where it's not easy to win games.
Keep in mind, though, that Dante DiVincenzo, I'm sorry if I butchered his last name, out of Villanova went at 17, Aaron Holiday went at 23.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
Mistake.
I think at 17 the Bucks could have definitely used that guy because they have Malcolm Brogdon, not a bad player, but I think he's reached his potential. That's where I think he's at right now. And another thing is Eric Bledsoe. He's been great, but I don't see him going anywhere with that franchise.
No.
And like I said, his Clipper days, amazing. Him and Chris Paul were one of the most electrifying backcourts in the league. And then his time in Phoenix was pretty much wasted. A couple prime years gone there. Now that he's 27 going on 28, he should be in his prime, but I feel like his talent has been wasted in his career, and that is pretty much over for him.
I think he's fed up with it at this point.
Exactly. The Bucks could have used
himself.
this pick. Yeah, the Bucks could have used this pick. I love Aaron Holiday. Future All-Star. You heard it here first.
Well, and the Pacers were 5 seconds away from beating the Cavs and moving on to face the Celtics for the Eastern Championship.
He very well could have been the difference.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think he is that bump. I think he takes them to the next level. I think the Pacers and Celtics are going to be very competitive this year in the East.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Celtics, Cale, with the next sleeper pick that I want to talk about, Robert Williams from Texas A&M. This was probably the steal of the draft just because of the situation. I gave this an A++. This was probably the best. Yes, this is probably he pretty much fell into the Celtics' lap at this point. This is a guy who we both picked to be a lottery pick.
I had this dude top 10. I easily could have seen him going top 7. I think he's amazing. He's another long guy like Bamba. He's got incredible talents and skill sets, and he can block anything that comes to him. I really just don't understand how he fell all the way to 27.
No, there's absolutely no reason that he should have fell this far. I was really worried because the Golden State Warriors picked at 28 that they were going to go ahead and pick him up, and I'm so glad the Celtics stole him from Golden State because
that's exactly what Golden State needs.
Exactly, and they don't need more help. Okay, they don't need any more help winning more rings. Okay, This guy, it's pretty much DeAndre Jordan, but better, I think, because
slimmer, faster, more agile.
Exactly, because we know how raw DeAndre was coming out of Texas A&M when he got drafted, and now that they have Robert Williams, Aaron Baines is an unrestricted free agent. He wasn't very good.
See you later.
He can get let go in the offseason.
All Aaron Baines does is get postered. That's all he does.
Yeah, exactly.
So
he's good at it, though.
He's very good at it. And now that you have a guy that can put people on posters coming in.
Yeah, it's a complete, 180.
And I'm just telling you, man, I am so psyched about this pick. And I'm not a Celtics fan. They're in my division. Mm-hmm. I can't stand the Celtics. But damn it, their front office, Danny Ainge, their coach and Brad Stevens, their team. Now they got a guy that can come in and play minutes behind Al Horford. They're getting Gordon Hayward back, Kyrie Irving back. Rozier's improved. Jaylen Brown's improved. Jason Terry. Wow, Jason Tatum is coming back.
I'm excited. That goes right along with me saying Celtics Pacers are going to be very, very competitive this year. I'm excited for that matchup.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just incredible. I know we skipped over one guy that I want to touch on real quick before we change topics. Lonnie Walker at 18 to the San Antonio Spurs. This is another guy that we had in the lottery, and he fell out of it.
Yeah, I had him up there at number 12, I think, going to the Clippers. I think he's another guy with scary upside. He's got potential to be extremely good. But we were talking about this before the show. He's got a little bit of an attitude. San Antonio is a great place for him. If he's going to learn anywhere to be a teammate and fit in and produce how he's supposed to produce and help the team, San Antonio is a great place for him.
Absolutely. And if Kawhi Leonard does end up leaving, and I'm pretty sure there's a 98% chance that he's gone out of San Antonio, this is a guy that can come in, and I don't want to say he's going to be the next Kawhi Leonard because he's not the best defender, but he does an okay job. But on the offensive side, this is probably the most explosive player in the draft, not named DeAndre Ayton. Mm-hmm. So with him coming in and being under Greg Popovich, I think Pop can keep that attitude in check. And like you said, his potential is only going to increase, and just the overall caliber player that he can become is unfathomable at this point. The raw talent that he possesses and where that can go, no one knows at this point, but we know that he will be very good in this league.
Well, I think it says he's measured at 6'5", but I read something out of his shoes. He measures at like 6'2.5".
6'4", 196 is what they got him listed at.
But he's as long as most of the small forwards and power forwards. He's got incredible length.
6'10", 6'11" wingspan. Yeah. He's very long at that position. If he plays the 2, I think he could develop into a great defender. I think that's what he relied so heavily on this year at Miami and in the tournament is that length. Not so much that he is a good defender, but the fact that his raw talent and God-gifted ability, he was able to disrupt defenders, or offenders, and be a good defender this year.
Absolutely. So, all in all, it was a good draft. It was good to see. Some of these guys I feel like went way too low.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was a couple guys definitely that should have gone way higher than they did.
Some surprising, some head scratchers. Definitely a couple questions, but there were some really good picks.
Now we just got a couple big things. Where's that LeBron decision? Where's that going to end up?
Yeah, and how this draft affected that decision.
How it affected it and where it's going to go.
The Lakers drafting Mo Wagner out of Michigan.
The Lake Show, baby.
Yeah, and if he LeBron ends up going to L.A. with Paul George, that guy's got to be stoked, just playing in L.A. for the Lakers, and you get to play with 2 All-Stars and one of the greatest players of all time.
Absolutely.
So we'll see where that goes. But go ahead and switching gears here. The NHL awards were last night?
2 nights ago. 2 nights ago.
And I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. We haven't really talked NHL on this channel all that much, but we're going to go ahead and jump into it. We got Matthew Barzal winning the Rookie of the Year. Yep. You guys, what are your thoughts?
So for me, Barzal, he is with the Islanders, I believe.
Yes.
The Islanders this season, they were 35-37, 10 overtime losses.
Yep.
That's not very good. We got some other big news about the Islanders coming up in just a minute, though. But Barzal this season, let me start with where he got drafted. 2015, he was the 16th pick overall in the first round. He played 82 games this year, tallied 22 goals with 63 assists, 85 points. He was a +1 on his player rating, served 30 minutes in the box. So, I mean, that's 82 games. That's not too bad.
But for a rookie, does that concern you?
For a rookie, not really, because you got to think that it's the NHL. These guys are hot hits when they're coming in. They're
especially
ready
as a rookie.
They're ready.
Down.
They're ready to knock heads. 5 power play goals along with 4 game winners. Just for the fact that he played for the Islanders, that's a pretty decent rookie of the year stat line right there. There's some other major ones that I missed, but
and he's no Sidney Crosby. He put up 85 points. That's great. No
right.
Sidney Crosby. He tied for 13th in the league as a rookie. That's very impressive.
Yep.
Had 85 points. That is 20 more points than the next closest rookie.
Right.
So I think without a doubt, he definitely earned that trophy.
Absolutely. Do you think he could potentially be a Sidney Crosby in the future?
I don't ever see him reaching that potential. I think he'll be good. I don't see a Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid in his future, but I think he'll be good for years to come.
Anze Kopitar, let's talk about him real quick. Go ahead, Gav.
I just wanted to say, Kopitar, the most outstanding defensive forward. Your guys' thoughts on him winning the award a couple days ago?
Anze Kopitar, real quick, 2004. He's been around. He's been in the league a long time.
Round the block a time or two.
Absolutely. I remember Kopitar watching him as a kid. But he was with the Kings. Kings had a pretty good season. They ended up going to the playoffs, and then they got 4-piece by the Knights. That was kind of interesting.
Everybody got 4-piece by the Knights. So
Jonathan Quick, though, that's saying something. That he was not able to stop that Golden Knights offense. But Kopitar, 2004 draft, first round, 11th pick. Played 82 games this year. His numbers are kind of iffy to me for this season. It wasn't his typical season. He only had 35 goals, 57 assists. He did have 92 points. So, I mean, that is something that he could do, but I could see him having over 100 easily up there. But his player rating was a plus 21. He had 20 penalty minutes, 7 power play goals, and 6 game winners on the season. I really like Anze Kopitar. He's real humble. He's been in the league forever. He's just one of those guys that's earned my respect. What about you?
I saw some that said he won like 70% of his face-offs, something like that. That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's insane. That for me, that best defensive forward, he is playing the ultimate defense there.
Not only is he playing good defense, but he's winning face-offs.
Right.
So, I mean, he's a utility guy.
Yeah, he does everything you ask and more.
Yep.
This next one, this should come as no surprise to anybody that even if you don't watch NHL, you knew about the Golden Knights and how well they did this season, coming out as a franchise organization, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Their coach, Gerard, Gallant. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Gallant.
you're good. These names are hard to pronounce.
The French is getting me. But he won Coach of the Year. That should come as no surprise to anybody, but go ahead and touch on that for a second.
The Golden Knights were absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
This guy pulled together a bunch of misfits that the teams didn't feel like they needed to protect because they didn't think anyone else wanted them, and he pulled together this team and turned them into something special.
Yeah.
Never does an expansion team like that go to the Stanley Cup Finals and actually put up a fight.
First time that an expansion team has done that was 1968-69 season. St. Louis Blues did it, but nobody's done it since.
Right, and that should speak to in itself because that was so long ago with less talent in the league, and
50 years.
Now that they've done it with all this talent that they've accumulated over those 50 years, and the fact that they were able to do it and win games against the Capitals. I mean, that should speak in and of itself.
Not only did they win games, they won 51 games this year. They were 51-24 with 109 points total as a team. They were first in the Pacific Division.
And they swept the first 2 teams in the playoffs.
With ease.
I think they let up 1 game in the third round, and then they finally lost in the championship.
Ovi was just too much for him to handle.
Yeah, that's an insane season for
Marc-Andre Fleury for them was amazing.
Phenomenal.
I mean, getting him, later in the year, what did he play, like 32, 33 games?
32 games, something like that.
Just amazing.
9.27 save percentage.
That's unreal. Marc-Andre Fleury still being Marc-Andre Fleury.
Dude.
We remember when we were kids. What's next, Gav?
How about Derek England winning the Mark Messier Award?
Yeah, so Derek England to me, he had a pretty average season. He played 79 games, 5 goals, 18 assists, 23 points, plus 6 on his player rating, 24 penalty minutes. But it's what he did in Vegas that really pushed me to really like this guy. With all the events that transpired on October 1st, that big tragedy in Vegas.
Yeah.
he helped a lot. He donated a lot of money, started a lot of fundraisers. But not only with that tragedy on October 1st, but he has also donated something I saw on ESPN.com. He just donated like over $2 million to local hockey clubs, youth hockey clubs in Las Vegas, and not only just Vegas, around the country, trying to get hockey or trying to take off like the basketball or baseball or football or anything like that. Which I do want to touch on something real quick, saying that hockey is now the number one sport in Illinois that's growing within the youth. So big news in the hockey world in Illinois.
Too bad I'm not 10 years younger.
Yeah, me either. I've been skating my entire life. But, Derek England really deserved that. He's a good guy, good, humble dude. There's not a lot of guys that like Derek England, just big hearts. Cares more about the city than he does the team, really, which is kind of bad. But at the same time, he helped them win or get to the Stanley Cup as an expansion team.
Now, where was he coming from? To an expansion team. Who did he get dropped from?
Remember. He got drafted in the 2000. He got drafted in 2000. He was in the 6th round too, the 27th pick of the 6th round. So he wasn't that phenomenal of a player, and he didn't put up that many numbers. But that doesn't really matter with all the stuff that he does in the community. To me, but yeah, Derek England was just a good guy. I have to look that up, see where he came from first. I can't remember off the top of my head because they did acquire him in the expansion draft, I believe.
He's played for the Penguins and the Flames before.
Okay. So, yeah, I do remember him a little bit with that stint in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. He played with Phil Kessel for a little while. Calgary, I don't remember. That may have been where he got drafted to. I'm not real for sure on that 100%. What we got next, Gav?
The winner of the Vezina Trophy, goaltender of the year.
Pekka Rinne, 2004 draft, 8th round, 31st pick. I feel like Pekka Rinne didn't really deserve this.
Agreed.
Pekka Rinne didn't really impress me all that much.
Now, I might be biased because he's a Predators
and
goaltender.
I hate the Predators. But
agreed. But I don't feel like he earned it.
I feel like there was way better goaltending potential than Pekka Rinne. 59 games, he was 42-13, 4 overtime losses. He had over 1,800 saves, which isn't bad.
No.
With that being said, he had a .927 save percentage. There was like Braden Holtby.
Not awful, but it's not good.
Braden Holtby had a save percentage of almost like .950 or something like that. 134 goals allowed. His goal average per game was 2.31. That's pretty high for a goaltender of the year.
He was tied for shutouts, though, tied for most shutouts this season.
And
he was third in wins, so that helped him out a little bit. But I still don't feel like he deserved the top. I think Quick had the most saves all season for goalies that had played more than 25 games. I feel like there was a lot more people that could have been included in this conversation that really weren't.
Holtby being one.
Holtby for sure. He got
Fleury.
Fleury got snubbed, in my opinion.
The guy from Winnipeg too, Connor Hellebuck. He didn't get that much.
He got third.
He had a great season, taking the Jets to the conference finals.
It put the team on his back.
Absolutely.
Dearborn, Michigan, which is right around the corner. But yeah, Connor Hellebuck was just an all-around good player. Gav, what we got next?
We have another award to get to, but real quick, I want to touch on the NHL cover athlete because we're talking about the Predators. Okay. PK Subban.
PK Subban.
Yeah.
He's just a real humble guy. I'm glad he got the cover athlete of the year. Basically, he's put together some great seasons. He's a proven goal scorer. Real humble dude. He said that he wouldn't vote for himself for MVP of the league. Shout out LeBron. But PK Subban's been around forever.
Well deserved.
Real humble. I love watching him when the national anthems are playing because he's out there just jazzing himself up. Man, he is so pumped, so ready to go. He brings it all out to the ice. Every play. Well, he's Canadian. Every play, every possession, he's out there giving it his all. So PK Subban winning this award, to me, is a very good pick. What we got next?
Oh, the other award, Taylor Hall, first Devil to win the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, Taylor Hall winning that Hart Trophy. The Devils are just bad. They were 44-29 this year. In the Eastern Conference, the Metropolitan Division.
Now, they did make it to the playoffs. First time in a while.
But they had no business being there.
Yeah.
That's just 100% biased opinion as well. But Taylor
Their
Hall,
first round series, did they play the Lightning?
No, who did they play in the first round? I think they played.
Lightning sounds right.
Yeah, they did play.
They did play Lightning.
They played the Lightning.
And they got swept.
They got swept.
Yeah, because I remember watching that game because my buddy is a Tampa Bay fan, and I watched a couple games in that series, and they were terrible.
Yeah, they played the Lightning and got swept. But Taylor Hall, 2010 draft, first overall, first pick. 76 games this season, 39 goals, 59 assists, 93 points. That's on Zay Kopitar stats there.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 14 on his player rating, 34 penalty minutes, 37 power play goals, and he scored 7 game winners.
Now, I think he earned his trophy, the most valuable player to his team. He had 41 more points than his closest teammate.
Yep.
Absolutely, if you take him off this team, they win 4 games.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. 41 more points than anybody else on his team. He was 6th in scoring in the league. An impressive season from him. He's finally at that status that the number 1 pick should be at. He had a great season.
Yeah, for sure. The Devils they're kind of in a rebuild right now, though. They're in that stage where they don't know if they want to totally flip the rebuild switch or if they want to leave that off or just kind of pick up guys at the deadlines or whatever they need to do. They just can't really figure out what they want to do. I can see them being a good team. You know, they got Taylor Hall. They got a couple other good guys.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of their goaltender. They're just solid.
I like to compare them to the Detroit Pistons in the NBA.
Right.
Like, they always hang around in the Eastern Conference around that 9-10 seed. They got Andre Drummond, they got Blake Griffin, but then they got young pieces and they don't know what they want to do with them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's
I
exactly
completely
where
see where
Devils
you're coming from.
They're not really rebuilding, but it sure looks like they are.
Yeah.
You just can't figure out what they're trying to do.
It's kind of like the Chicago Bulls in past years. Like, they weren't
Yeah.
sure what they were doing, but
Absolutely.
they needed to.
Absolutely. Speaking of rebuilds, the Hawks, man, what are they doing? They can't. They're another team that they can't figure out if they're rebuilding or not.
Yep.
Especially with Joel Quenneville signing
We
that.
might have a couple rough seasons.
Joel
coming up.
Quenneville signed that extension in 16, I believe, for $6.25 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that's going to end up being over the 2018-19 season.
Yep. After this year.
So if we lose Quenneville, what does that mean about Caves and Kaner? What's going to happen with those guys? I don't know. That's a big looming question right there.
I think they stay. I think they're Blackhawks for life.
I
don't think they're going to like it because I think it's going to be a rough couple seasons until they can finally get back to that point. But I think they'll stay in Chicago.
For sure. I hope they do. Basically because without them guys, that's the heart of the team. They're the heart of the Chicago Blackhawks. So
The last award from Wednesday night was the Ted Lindsay Award given to Connor McDavid of the Oilers.
best award recipient of this NHL awards. Connor McDavid is just a unit. He is mean. He can get out there. He can score. He went the 2015 draft, first round, first pick.
2 seasons under his belt. I think he's had at least 100 points in both seasons, or he was damn close in his first season. He got 108 this season.
108 this year.
Yeah, dude, he's nuts. 41 goals, 67 assists. Hey, he's great. The guys that finished second and third, Taylor Hall from the Devils and McKinnon, I can't remember. They had 93 and 97 points, so he was 10, 15 ahead of those guys. He played absolutely great this year, just like the 2 years he's been in the league.
Is there anyone else that you guys would have rather given this award to, or did you thought he was absolutely deserving?
Yeah,
I think he was deserving. Coming from an awful team, I can't remember what the Oilers went, but it wasn't good. They put up over 100 points. Yeah, that's nuts.
Connor McDavid is the piece that the Oilers needed. Now that they got their piece, they can build around Connor McDavid.
Exactly.
They have to. They can't get rid of him. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league right now. If not is. He's young. We're talking about comparing people to Sidney Crosby.
That's your comparison.
That's your comparison right there.
That
I completely
is the next
forgot
Sidney
about
Crosby.
McDavid.
Sid ain't the kid no more. He's not that he's old, but he's definitely not the kid anymore. Connor McDavid is the new kid. He is the Sidney Crosby mini-me.
Yes.
We had talked, or you had mentioned this on Monday. The Capitals head coach, Barry Trotz, resigned and became a free agent as a coach.
Yep.
And it was rumored that he would sign with the Islanders, and that just happened yesterday.
Yes.
What are your guys' thoughts on this? This really baffles me. You win the Cup with a team that had never won it before, with a guy that was, I don't think, any more deserving than anyone else in the league to go ahead and win a Cup and the MVP of the finals. Just really kind of put this into context of what this means for not only the Capitals and Barry Trotz, but the Islanders and moving forward.
So I want to touch on one thing first before we get started. This is the first time that a coach, or since 2002, that a coach has not returned to their team that they won the Cup with. And the guy to do that was Scotty Bowman when he won in 2002 with Detroit. But Barry Trotz, since he won the Cup, he had a contract or a clause in his contract that stated he had a $3,000 bonus for winning that Cup, or $300,000 bonus for winning that Cup. So that pushed his contract up to $2 million. He still had 1 season left on his contract, which has been this year. So they'd have been paying him almost $2 million this season. I don't think that the Capitals could afford it with the cap being salary cap being so low that for him to stay. It sucks. It's terrible because Barry Trotz is a good coach, and he rebuilt that Washington Capitals team.
Took him 6 years to do it, but he had a lot of building to do.
Starting with Ovi, and he got Ovi and he got Nicholas Backstrom right around the same time, and and it just took him forever. But those two guys, three guys actually, Barry Trotz, Ovi, and Backstrom all stuck around through that 6 years of rebuilding. Finally got a goaltender with Holtby, and then they finally got themselves a Cup. But, with him going to New York, he got a big contract. It's almost double for 5 seasons, double what he was making at Washington. So Barry Trotz likes to go to them rebuild teams.
Gives them something to do.
He likes the challenge. With Matt Barbazol, he's one of the pieces that they got in that rebuild. So I know they got a pretty decent farm system coming up from everything I've read on the Islanders, but that's just my take on it. What do you got?
I think it's a great pickup for New York.
Absolutely.
For New York, this is a complete steal.
Yeah. There's nothing else that could have. He fell in their laps. There's nothing else they could have done better. That is the best thing for them. I think it helps their team tremendously. Too bad for the Capitals. It would have been great for them to keep him, but New York's making out in this situation.
What do you think Washington does moving forward in their head coaching job? Who do they get to fill that position?
I have no clue.
I mean, do you search in-house, or is there a coach on the market that you go ahead and fit in that?
Well, they got 2 big-name coaches on the market right now that are looking. I don't know how well they want out of their contracts, one being Joe Quenneville, 2 being Mike Babcock out of Winnipeg. I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. My guess is they're going to have to stay in-house, basically for the fact that they're not going to.
I just don't think there's any other coaches out there right now.
And there's no cap space for them.
Exactly.
So if they want to keep Ovi and Backstrom and Holtby, they're not going to have any cap space for a good coach. They're going to be right back down at the bottom, right where they were last year.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting offseason to see what they hire. If they hire inside or in-house, or whether they try to go for a big-name coach like Coach Q or Babcock. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, speaking of Joe Quenneville, I know you touched on this earlier, but he did sign that 3-year extension in 2016, and it will be up at the end of the 2019 season.
Yeah.
What do the Hawks do in this situation?
Win a cup.
Win a cup?
Win a cup, make him stay. It's the only way he will stay.
Yep.
He's a cup chaser. You can't blame him. He likes cups and he builds teams.
He's a winner.
He wants to win.
Nature. He wants to win.
So
can't blame him for that.
Well, with the
I hate to see him go, but
with the situation that Chicago's in right now, do you think that is even fathomable at this point with their roster and what they have constructed?
Based on last year, no.
You ever seen the movie Miracle?
Yeah.
That's what the Hawks are going to need.
Yeah.
There's rumors that this is a rumor. There's rumors that Crow's leaving, which he wants to stay.
I've been trying to do that for the last 3 years.
Yeah, me too.
Need to happen.
So I wish they would have kept Scott Darling. But anyway, if Crow leaves, then there's no chance. Crow's got, obviously he's got the 3 cups with the Hawks, but they're.
I was also saying I wanted Crow to leave when there was good guys on the market like Jonathan Quick. But that's done and passed, so now I don't really know if I want him to leave. But
he's the best for what's on the market
available.
Because Quick's not coming. He's Quick. They missed the opportunity to sign Jonathan Quick. He was a free agent, decided to stick with the LA Kings. Good for him though. He's a franchise goalie. But they should have picked Quick up.
Yeah.
I don't know though if Crow leaves.
Tight spot
for Joel Quenneville. He ain't going to be around much longer. I don't know though. The Hawks can pay him, so because they got Kaner and Taves both locked for until 2021, I believe. So the end of the 2021 season. So I don't know. If Joe Quenneville leaves, it's going to be a brutal couple of years for the Chicago Blackhawks fans.
Absolutely, and if he ends up going, they're going to have to search for someone that wants to stick around and rebuild that team. And it's too bad Barry Trotz isn't on the market next year. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see what the Hawks are going to do with that moving forward. But those were the award winners.
Before we move on, I just want to backtrack real quick for like 1 second. Another thing for why Connor McDavid was absolutely deserving. He won the Calder Trophy last year, most outstanding rookie. He also won the Ted Lindsay Award last year too. So that's 2 years in a row that he's won that Ted Lindsay Award, youngest player ever do so.
Yep.
And back to back
to win back to back like that. He's also one of 3 Oilers players to ever win it, and one of those other names is Wayne Gretzky.
The GOAT.
So.
Yep.
I just wanted to throw that out there, and we can go ahead and move on. I know we got some baseball to talk about. So
one last thing about that is Connor McDavid is not at the point where we can compare him to Wayne Gretzky.
No,
the only comparison is that he's trying to make is that.
But he's got a good start.
Right.
Good start and that the Oiler connection.
Sidney Crosby, that's a good comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne Gretzky, the best ever. Nah, not much yet. But he's still got a lot of years left. He's young.
Played 2. He's got 18 more.
Yeah, at least. So he's going to put up.
Hey, we know he's going to have a phenomenal career, and we'll definitely be monitoring that in the upcoming season.
Absolutely.
So, and now that especially with all the other moves that have happened, and people are going to be.
It's just getting started too.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a fun off season. The 2019 season is going to be fun. Can't wait for October. I wanted to get here so bad, but I don't want to wish my life away because I want to see the Cubs.
Slow down, we got football season.
I want to see the Cubs in October too. So we better get there.
With that said, moving on, we're going to go ahead and talk some MLB to close out the show. I want to get into, guys, the Cubs. This past week and a half, they look like the team to beat in the National League Central.
They looked like the team to beat until yesterday.
Poor showing against the Reds, against an awful Reds team this year.
Yeah, they're bad.
But the Reds were at home. I do think that they play better at home. Most teams play better at home.
Yeah, but the Reds are also 15 games back, too.
Yes.
Out of first place in the NL
But
Central.
it was Hendricks pitching, and Hendricks, we know, has had a rough start to the year.
Right.
5-7 and like 16 games pitched. So
3.7 ERA, too.
Yeah, that's unlike him. He's almost at a 2 ERA almost every year. He's almost 2 points higher than ever.
But we gave Matt Harvey a second win. Matt Harvey was a phenomenal pitcher till all the injuries. But Matt Harvey's 2-5 now with a 5.66 ERA. That's unlike Matt Harvey.
Right.
But, with the Cubs, they are the team to beat in NL Central.
Not only the NL Central, I think they're the team to
whole
beat
National
in the NL.
League. Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
They're in third place in the NL right now.
Yeah, only reason I say the Central is because of how loaded it is. Them fighting back and forth with the Brewers, the Cardinals nipping at their heels, although they look like they're going to fall off. And then Pittsburgh, we thought that they might turn it around here in the next week, and they just keep falling behind.
They're still 8
And
back.
obviously the Reds are a mess.
Yes.
So
they have been a mess for the last 5 years.
I mean, they're only 1 game back in Milwaukee right now, but we know Milwaukee is, or at least we thought they were the team to beat.
See, this is sad because Milwaukee has the Brewers has the Cardinals this weekend.
And that's really going to help them if the Cardinals can't win.
Cardinals need to take 2 for Cubs fans. Cardinals need to take 2.
Well,
I hate saying that.
They need to take 2 just to catch up with Chicago.
They need to take 2 to stay in Chicago, and with the Chicago needs to.
It's in everyone's best interest if the Cardinals win this series.
Win it or take 2
is
all they need to do, and we need to take the rest of the weekend with the Reds, which kind of proven. The last couple of weeks is that we've dropped the first game in a series, but we've taken the remaining 2 or 3. So I don't know. It'll be fun this weekend, loaded with baseball. Still too early yet though to be kind of freaking out. We're not even at the end of June. Well, we're just now winding down June.
Yeah, we still have another week left.
After the All-Star break is when I'll really start focusing on NL Central, because that's when it's going to heat up, especially about August. Then we got the trade deadline where Manny Machado is going to end up. Still no word on that yet. But I don't know though. It's the NL Central's loaded, like Gavin said. We still have Atlanta too in the NL East. They're 43-30.
They're a half game.
And they're a half game up on the Cubs right now.
On the Cubs, and then the Nationals are 40-33. They're 3 games back from Atlanta. So we got the Nationals. We got the Braves. The Brewers, obviously. The D-backs are playing good ball too.
Yeah. Kind of a sleeper team.
Never
really.
would have thought that.
Yeah.
They got Paul Goldschmidt. That's the only team only guy I can name off of that team.
They got the tall, lanky pitcher too.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head though.
Greinke.
Zach Greinke, yeah. But yeah, that's the Diamondbacks are really, really impressing me with their ball play.
They're impressing me, but Cubs are still the team to beat, in my opinion.
For sure.
They're the only team from the playoffs last year in the NL that are performing like they're supposed to.
For sure.
The Dodgers, the reigning NL champs, they lost the World Series by a game. They're only 3 games over 500. They're 38 and 35 right now.
They're battling with injuries too. So.
Yeah, but the Nationals aren't in first place in their division either. They're 3 games back from the Braves, which the Braves are impressing me too.
Yeah.
But based on the teams that made the playoffs last year, the Cubs are the only ones that are where they're supposed to be at right now.
Absolutely. The Mets and the Marlins, bad. They're just bad, man. They got a major rebuild going on both teams. But one last thing we want to talk.
The Marlins gave all their guys to the Yankees.
Well, there's one question I want to ask, and
go ahead.
this has to do with the American League.
Okay.
Is the fact that the Boston Red Sox have now overtaken the Mariners by 3.5 games in just the past week after Seattle's hot start to the season. So if we could touch on that and what's going on with those two teams right now.
Boston's pieces they're like cogs turning.
Yep.
It's just happening. Everything's coming together at once, and it's working out perfectly.
Well, we were raving about Seattle 5 days ago.
Don't count the Mariners out yet.
No, and I haven't. I'm just saying they were pretty tight, and now that Boston's starting to pull away, I mean, this is just it's
Boston's
a surprise.
had a pretty easy schedule the last couple days as well, or last 2 series. Seattle's had a pretty tough one because they had the Astros for a 4-game series last weekend, and not only that, they had the Red Sox 2 weekends ago, and then they beat them 3 games out of 4.
Yeah.
So the Mariners being able to take a series from the Red Sox is pretty amazing. I would like to see the Mariners take one more from New York as well, but I don't know. Don't count the Mariners out yet. Although the Red Sox have all of their pieces just meshed. They're there. They're ready. And
you
they're
got
hot.
6'1" string beam Mookie Betts hitting 16 home runs. Things are just happening.
You got Mookie Betts.
Nothing's going wrong for him. Right
JD
now.
Martinez. You got all these guys that are just coming together, just hitting balls left and right out of that field.
I don't remember what the score was, but they crushed somebody last night, or like 9-2 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 9-2.
Yeah, they're just absolutely just slaying the other teams.
One more thing I just want to say is if I think pretty much unanimously choose the Cubs to win the National League, right?
Hopefully.
They will be the team to beat. I think Milwaukee's up there as well as Washington, like you guys said. But ultimately, I think the Cubs will come out on top. Now, if we switch over to the American League, who do you see coming out challenging the Cubs in the World Series if it comes to fruition?
Boston.
I want to say Boston, but Houston always gets dangerous.
Right.
At least the last couple of years. They've got those pieces. They just got to get them working together at the right time.
I was going to say, what are the odds if the Red Sox and the Mariners playing at this level, the Astros can go back-to-back?
I don't see the Astros going back-to-back. I would like to. I think
Houston's not winning, just getting back to the World Series, right.
I also think the Yankees have a good run, good shot. They got Giancarlo Stanton,
Aaron
Judge,
Gleyber Torres,
the New York Bombers.
Yeah. They've got all the right pieces too. That AL East is just unreal.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I'm a Jays fan. I've been watching it all year.
Yeah. You guys are 17 back too out of first place from New York.
Yeah, I don't want to fall below the Rangers level. That's that would be.
So real quick though,
Ranger bad. That's something.
And we're right there too. And I hate the Rangers. I hate the Rangers.
Before we move on to Dexter Fowler's rocky first half, I want to talk about the AL Central real quick.
Sure.
The AL Central is so bad. That's the worst division in the baseball, and it has been for the last couple of years, in my opinion.
We could just chop that whole division out and
you got
not
Cleveland.
really miss nothing.
I mean, even with Cleveland, I mean, they're doing really well, but I still don't see them going anywhere. And then you have 4 teams that are under 500, not even close.
The 3 of us could play that division.
Yeah. Kansas City's won 22 games all year. They're 18.5 out of first place.
I was going to say Cleveland's 40-33, but when you're going up against these teams, how good are they?
You're literally just stealing candy.
Yeah.
6 games from each of these teams in the first half.
You're playing farm league teams.
Yeah.
Listen to these records real quick. They got Kansas City 22-52 with a 0.297 win percentage, 18.5 back out of first. The White Sox 24-49,
Sorry, Dad.
16 out of first place. Minnesota, we're getting a little better. 33-38. Detroit, 36-39. I didn't know they'd be that good, in my opinion. 36-39.
I think the Tigers are having kind of a fluke season so far.
Nobody expected.
I expect them to fall off hard here in the second half of the season.
Well, there's not much place to go because the NL Central's
they can't
already
really be
fell
much
off.
worse than anybody else. So there's not really a whole lot left for them to fall.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean, going up against anyone outside of their
Yeah,
division,
yeah.
I don't expect them to win a series. I mean, they'll obviously win a couple here and there, but I don't see it.
Those other three teams are the pillows, and the Tigers have just kind of fallen on top of them.
Yeah.
You can't really squish down anymore. They're
bad.
just stuck.
It's bad.
It's a tricky situation. Yeah, we're gonna get to Dexter Fowler here because after last season signing that deal with St. Louis, had a pretty good year. Now this year, the first half of the season, what the heck's going on?
200 plate appearances. He's got 33 hits, 20 RBIs, and that average 165.
165.
Dexter Fowler has a 165 batting average right now.
Never thought I'd hear that.
Me either.
First half of the season with the Cubs 2 years ago, he was like 420.
I know.
How you go from that over 400 for the first 50, 60 games of the season to 165?
His OPS right now is at a 542. A decent OPS is in the 900s. That's just the baseline average. He's way under. He's not even up to par. He hasn't even played that much either. I don't get it.
He's taken like 27 walks or something, which helps his on-base percentage, because without those walks, it would be awful. Right now, his on-base percentage is at a 273.
Yeah.
That's lower than most guys' batting average.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tommy La Stella coming off the bench is batting almost 350.
Yeah.
And then Dexter Fowler signed a giant deal with St. Louis too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
I don't understand it.
Dexter Fowler's WAR, wins above replacement, is at a negative 1.5.
Mike Trout's at a 2.4.
Yeah.
So Dexter Fowler's got to be
It's awful.
Dexter Fowler's got to be in the bottom of the
Well,
half.
we've got a guy that has gone from potential all-star to probably one of the worst players in the league up to this point. And then you have Mike Trout, who's gone from a really good player to legendary status this season.
Mike Trout's on such a bad team. He's having a season this year that he may beat one of Babe Ruth's seasons.
You
Yeah.
need to swap him and Dexter Fowler.
But you can't hear about Mike Trout because in the last 10 games, the LA Angels have gone 2-8.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just a rocky start for Dexter. I hope
He's playing so bad they took him out of the lineup. They didn't.
I know.
He was batting in the one spot for a reason. They want him to get the chance to hit the ball as many times as possible. They didn't just drop him down a couple spots to the 6 or 7.
He's done.
Out of the lineup. See you later. You don't even get a shot anymore.
Which the Cardinals organization's got to do something about Mike Matheny, though. They got to get him out of there. In my opinion, he's not a very good manager. So,
Well, what do the Cardinals do with this roster if they want to stay competitive? They got a whole month of free agency to try to figure this out, or not free agency, up until the trade deadline, try and figure it out.
2 things, in my opinion: get rid of everybody but Michael Ozuna, Harrison Bader, Paul DeYoung, and get rid.
You'd get rid of Osuna.
I would get rid of. No, I keep Ozuna.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, what?
Keep Ozuna,
Okay.
Harrison Bader and Paul DeYoung.
Okay.
Everybody else can go. Even in the front office, everybody.
Oh.
That's what
front
I.
office.
And Yachty, but Yachty's Yachty, but he's
You gotta
getting
keep
old
Yachty
though.
so he can
He
retire.
is, but wouldn't you think that he would retire in St. Louis?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't.
He's
They
gonna
go to get rid of him, he'll just retire.
Yeah.
He's gonna
He
retire.
wants to
in St.
retire
Louis.
there.
So he's a franchise catcher, and
I think it's a courtesy thing that they'll hold on to him. Although
Yeah.
other teams would love to have him, I don't think that they'll.
he's still got a rocket of an arm.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's what I'm
He
saying.
just can't hit the ball anymore.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing: I saw a stat the other day about Yadier Molina that he's only got like 3 punch outs this year, basically because there's only 3 people that stole on him. He's got the
Everyone
lowest.
else knows better.
Nobody's gonna run on Yadier Molina. I mean, they're stupid if they do. Sorry for saying that, but they are. He's got the best arm behind the plate besides Wilson Contreras, who's right up there with him. So I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see what the Cardinals do. That's about all the baseball talk I've got.
If that's Tyson, anything else to add?
You guys have anything else?
That's about all I got.
For sure.
I mean, hey, we've had a pretty good show today. I just want to say thank you to guys for sticking around for the entire thing. If you did, we really appreciate it. Other than that, that's going to do it for us. My name's Gavin Campbell, Tyson Synder, Cale Fleming. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.